conducted within the National Agricultural Research Organization Institute. Some research have been conducted in Makerere University and other research entities. The sites for these experiments are several, and some are located in Serere and other parts of Uganda. These experiments are conducted in collaboration with a number of regional and international partners, and it's my sincere hope that this forum will help us not only to network, but also to identify priorities for biosafety research, policy, and regulatory development in Uganda. And besides that, we have also had new developments in the field of biotechnology, and we have interacted with quite a number of our counterparts. And of course, we know that we are very active in other areas. Previously, we were very focused on the crop science bit, but now we have also ventured into other areas like anti-tick development. And of course, in the medical field, there are other things like production of vaccines. And of course, this will rely on biotechnology. And of course, there is also that trial, especially in relation to application of gene therapy in the medical field for treatment of some diseases. So this forum will help us to know where we have come from all these years, where we are, and to ensure that we get a common understanding in terms of the regulatory landscape, and to see how we can move from now onwards. And of course, also putting into consideration the new orientation of the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. So I encourage all to actively participate, and the inputs that we shall get from the participant will help us and guide us moving forward. And I would like to thank our partners, especially the Science, Technology, and Innovation Office of the President, Program for Biosafety Systems, African Union Development Agency, African Agricultural Technology Foundation, the Open Forum on Agricultural Biotechnology in Africa, Uganda Virus Research Institute, Infectious Diseases Institute, National Agricultural Research Organization, and the Science Granting Council initiatives for supporting the organization of this forum. And I would like to thank members of the National Biosafety Committee who reviewed and advised on the development of research and product development activities. Last but not least, I would like to thank you all for coming to the forum, and I hope that we shall benefit from each other's participation and experience, and we hope that this will be one of the cornerstones to ensure that we make Uganda the best. That is our new slogan, but the Honorable Minister will elaborate more. So at this juncture, I would like to take the honor to invite the Honorable Minister for Science, Technology, and Innovation, Dr. Monica Musenero, to come and give the keynote, the main address, and of course also share with us the new orientation of the science, technology, and innovation sector. Honorable Minister, you are most welcome.
The honorable members of parliament present, heads of government agencies who are present with us today, science and technology regulators across the continent, distinguished bioscientists and bioinnovators, members of the private sector, the media and science communicators, all participants, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. I expect some answer. Good morning. Yeah, in our culture, when you greet someone, they have to answer. So you are welcome, our guests, especially those from outside the borders of Uganda. I'm waiting for the technology people. Where do I expect to? Where do the audience see? You are able to see now? Okay. Those from within Uganda whom I've had a privilege to interact with before, you are familiar with my style. I am not the typical minister who gives speeches. I give presentations, technical presentations. So I have a written speech here written for me. I'll mix it with the presentation because I can't have such a sweet audience and miss the opportunity to share the vision with them. So please allow me to transform into a technical person and share with you the bigger vision, within which context you will be discussing and deliberating the biosafety. I must say I disturbed Dr. Ngol quite a lot with this meeting. He was working very hard to have his 5th biosecurity conference, and I was working very hard to turn it into a rethinking of national regulation for African countries as we enter science, technology, and innovation to play a big role in our economies, because this revolution is not taking place only in Uganda, but it's taking place across the continent. Where we have been observers and recipients of technology and admirers of technology where it is made, where it is regulated, now we are the hosts and makers of technology. And so because of that, we need to start to think seriously about regulation and all this biosecurity. We need to think about the bigger picture so that we can begin to see how we can set the ecosystem. So I'll share with you a few slides. I don't know why, can we silence the middle? It's too big and draws a lot of attention of the audience from the side screens. So I would like to share with you the current context of Uganda and the context in which we shall be discussing. That graph there is the population structure pyramid of our country. And this is typical of many of our countries. Very big, very thick at the bottom, very wide at the bottom, and very limited up. We have a very young population, and we have high youth unemployment because the season before us, where we have been harnessing natural resources and simply selling them as is, that season is ending. And so we must transition into a season of innovation, into a season of value addition, into a season of products of the intellect, where we must modify these natural resources to add value to them in order to create the job. This pyramid presents a big challenge and humongous opportunities. I prefer to look at the opportunities. A younger population is agile, it's very innovative, they have a long life ahead of them. And for example, when you look at climate change these days, the young people who are afraid that we are damaging the future for them, they are the ones at the front line. So they have a vision for the future. And for that, we can harness them a lot. So even as we discuss, we are talking about regulation to protect people who are young for a long time, but also to create economies for them, because they must survive. We are the leaders in this, and I will just challenge you a little bit here. It's our responsibility to imagine that future for them. For example, we have had a lot of challenges with the biofuels. The biofuels became very, very essential for economies. And for a long time, the geopolitics were determined by biofuels. Nations became good or bad depending on whether they have biofuels and what they allow to be done with those biofuels. Now, there is a turn that biofuels are evil and wicked, and we must get rid of them. Somebody sat through and imagined. Now it is our responsibility to imagine a regulation framework and a future of what needs to be done and how it can be done so that we can assure our young people of our future. If we stick to the side, there's been for example, a very shy discussion of Africa in African countries about nuclear energy. Very shy. Some people, a few voices say we must develop nuclear energy. And the rest of our regulators are stuck in the position before. No, you see. So how can we move forward? Because regulation comes in the context of development. If you regulate yourself to death of your economy, then there is nothing really for the people of those nations to look forward to. So it's our responsibility to look as leaders to see what and how things can be transformed. And then we rally our countries to move forward with that. Our vision, this is my vision of my definition of vision, because without vision, it will be difficult for us to move forward. If we just think of how things are, and if all your discussions here, these 3 days, are simply how things have been and how things are now, then there is no vision for anybody to take away from here. I want to propose that in this meeting, we transform ourselves into vision bearers. And vision is when you see beyond your eyes, where your eyes can see. You are able to see beyond where your eyes can see. You are able to see into the future through the eye of the imagination at what are we going to be when we have succeeded. So I challenge you these weeks, these 2-3 days, please make sure that you are creating a vision. Let the 5th Biosecurity Forum not be about talking about how things have been in the past or even how things are now, because that's not going to last. The ecosystem all around us is changing. Okay, courage, that's my favorite slide. Courage is the ability to do something that frightens one. And as regulators, and for this meeting, I'm calling you to step into a place of courage. A place of courage where we have stood at the edge. I mean, in Uganda, we have rotated with one bill for 20 years. No courage. With one bill, we don't have courage it has almost expired now. We don't have the courage we must pick the courage and put down things that even frighten us, but we are willing to go ahead and do them. Now, those are the three mantras that are leading us now with STI in Uganda: leadership, vision, and courage. Leadership, vision, and courage. It's our responsibility to convince the doubting Thomases that we are able to do it. And we can only do that if we are very, very convinced about what we're doing. Just to remind you that Uganda has a vision. This vision was articulated in a document called Vision 2040. Some people think it has been forgotten, but it is actually alive and kicking and acting. It is like a pregnancy. It takes time, but when the time comes, it shows up and surely it makes its statement. So we have a vision to transform the nation. And that vision is to transform our people. It's not to transform institutions. Institutions should be transformed to fit into the vision for the people. We want to move our population out of subsistence, primary production of all types, into value-added, science-led, knowledge-based occupations. That's just, I'll not dwell on that. The comparison of where we came from in terms of the people and where we are going, where we want to hit by 2040. And as you heard recently, we have put our first step onto middle income. If we can sustain or even become better over the next 3 years, we will be officially declared middle income. Now, I want to request you regulators to study what that means. It's not as innocent as it is. It means you've left one room in the house, you've left the kitchen in the house, and now you've gone to the dining. The rules are different, the actions are different. I cannot start lighting a charcoal stove at the dining table. Can I? So let us think like people who are now moving. And if I look at East Africa, I think Kenya is already middle income. Is it? Tanzania made it to middle income 2020. And we shall be shifting as a block into middle income. So don't deliberate regulations for third world. Deliberate regulations for middle income nations. So this vision has been implemented, National Development Plan 1, we're trying to sketch out, organize things. Each of those plans is 5 years. National Development Plan 2, we're developing infrastructure for national transformation, economic transformation. During National Development Plan 1, electricity would have gone up 3 to 4 times since you sat here. But by the end of NDP2, we are now able to sit here for, I can't guarantee it won't go off, but I'm 95%. Even if it goes off, it will take just a flicker of a second. And now my screen has gone off. Can you put back my screen, please? I think to show me that you're over bragging. Okay, so in National Development Plan 2, we focused on putting up infrastructure, including STI infrastructure. Really, it underwent quite a lot of development. Now we are implementing National Development Plan 3. National Development Plan 3 is about the people. It's about now putting together all these infrastructures, all these frameworks, so that they begin to work for the people. And we cannot do that unless the people themselves understand. If you have listened to the sound waves, including our media, they don't understand science and technology. They just don't have the basics. And now we must transform that. And when we put up regulations and people don't understand, Let me give an example. We have had an epidemic, a small outbreak of anthrax in some districts in the Elgon region. But the people really plead and they want to eat the animals which have died of anthrax. They don't understand the consequences. Even one person was saying, let me eat and die so that the other people may know. So we need now to transform the people, but the bigger picture is we have begun to transform the people out of subsistence into knowledge-based, value-added production. And that means that we, the regulators, must rethink how we are doing things, because the speed at which technology is going to emerge is going to be very, very fast. Having been economies where technology was just imported, and so we were more of gatekeepers. We are more of gatekeepers. Don't bring that thing to us. We are not ready for it. When it is inside, we are watching. Now we are technology generators. We are technology generators from internal. How can we assure the rest of the world that our products are safe, buy them and use them? That should be now the transformation. That should be the change in our thinking. And as biosecurity regulators, you are part and parcel of this new thing. The capacities that we need to develop are not just for us, where sometimes we are like, okay, we are just weighing, well, that is good enough for us. No, we now must set an international standard that others can receive our products and be very happy and confident in using them. Sorry. I'll speak a little bit about this. For all of us who are here within the borders of Uganda, I want to make this announcement that we are doing science and technology to solve the problems of poverty and underdevelopment. I know you have been doing science and technology for different reasons: to get your PhD, to get your postdoc, to publish papers, to implement that project, to implement the mandate of your institution. People have done to earn additional income, to increase your CV. All those things are good. They are not bad at all. But the reason we are doing science, technology, and innovation in the country now is for us to fight poverty and underdevelopment. And any institution that is going to be relevant to this cause must now reorient itself. The primary goal of what you're doing is not for me to exist as an institution, but for me to make a contribution. And so my existence as an institution is going to be as a result of me making a contribution. And over the next few years, there will be quite a few realignments to make sure that we are able to be optimally contributing to the fight of poverty. Hitherto, science has sat in their silos, in universities, in the research institutions. There are some institutions which have showed cause, especially NARO. You've helped us to find drought-resistant strains. You've helped us to fight disease-resistant strains. But we've not shown up on industrialization of the nation. And that's where we want to go. We've not shown up on commercialization, where we build our innovations into businesses and we begin to reverse the flow of technology. From it, we have been the valley where technology flows from out into here. We now want to become a hill where technology flows from out of us into the rest of the world. And so, because of time, I will not go into most of this, but what's our vision? The vision of STI is to make Uganda the best, most technologically advanced, and most innovative nation in the region. And we are dead serious about this. We are dead serious about this. This is not some slogan or something written for others to admire. This is a very practical vision, which is being implemented by the minute, by the hour, by the day, by the week. We want to make Uganda the best, the most technologically advanced and most innovative nation in the region. And I believe this is going to happen. So when you see STI and our agencies, and as we disseminate, you'll see make Uganda the best. STI, make Uganda the best. Now, let me just quickly walk you through industrial revolutions. Each of these revolutions came with a new need for regulation. Each of them, because we introduced new things. When people started living in cities, diseases of congestion came, so regulations came. Things like a quarantine, things, these lockdowns, people think lockdown is new. No, lockdown has been around. It preceded modern medicine. So it's not a new innovation. But as industrial revolutions came, new technologies came, and they came with new regulations. We had the first industrial revolution. We had the second industrial revolution. We had the third industrial revolution recently when I was alive. And we are now in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution, which is rapidly, somewhere now we will have to put a line and say we have entered the fifth industrial revolution. And then there is a future which we have to go to. When I ask ourselves, which of these industrial revolutions have we been participants in as contributors, not as consumers? Because if you are not a participant, then you cannot put up regulations not regulate it. It's come upon us. So it disadvantages us. Now, the other side of it is that we have said, no, we as Ugandans and we as Africans, we cannot continue to be recipients of technology. We must participate in the creation of technology. We must participate in the creation of knowledge. We must participate in industrializing our nations, and we must participate in the regulation of what we produce. So this puts a big call on us. Because we have all these gaps, we didn't participate. Now what do? How do we move forward? How do we fill these gaps? I told you that this inability, for example, when I've read that genetically